Hello all. In this video, let's see about interview questions and answers for multithreading. This will be covering the basic concepts of multithreading also. So please watch this video without skipping. Let's get started. What is multitasking and mention its types? Generally, a task means a set of instructions that needs to be completed. So multitasking means this process of executing multiple tasks simultaneously. And why we want multitasking means it will be helpful for utilizing the CPU efficiently. Example, we can take a mobile phone. So in that, at the time we are listening to music and also we can use WhatsApp. So all those operations will be handled simultaneously. That is called multitasking. Then types of multitasking, there are two types. Process-based multitasking, that is multiprocessing. Then thread-based multitasking, that is multithreading. What is process in Java? We saw about the types of multitasking. In that, multiprocessing was included. So to understand about that, first we need to know what is process. Let's see about it. A process is an instance of a program that is being executed. Example, when we click on any application, that means a process will get started. If you are trying to open a Chrome browser in our system, then that means a process is getting started. And similarly, if you are trying to open IntelliJ, then that means another new process will get started. So each of those applications will start a new process. And each process will have its own memory space. And process is a heavyweight task. What is thread? A thread is a lightweight subprocess. That is, it is the smallest unit of process. Since process is a heavyweight task, it should be divided further into subprocess. That is called thread. A process may contain multiple threads. So all those threads will belong to one process. Threads share the process resources, but still each of those threads will be executing independently. Example, there are process 1 and process 2. So process 1 has T1, T2 and T3 threads. Similarly, process 2 has T1 and T2 threads. Difference between process and thread. Process means any program in execution, whereas thread is a part of that process. Process consists of many threads. Thread is the smallest part of that process. Process will have its own address space, whereas thread will use the process address space. Process will be less efficient in terms of inter-process communication. That is, if you want to communicate between two processes, then at that time process will be less efficient since it is like heavyweight one, whereas thread is a more efficient in terms of inter-thread communication. Process is a heavyweight one, thread is a lightweight. Process consumes more resources, whereas thread consumes less resources. Example for both of them, process means when we are opening a Chrome browser, that is process, and inside that Chrome browser, when we are clicking on each new window and seeing some things, that is called thread. What is multithreading? We know about thread, it is a part of process. So multithreading means, as the name says, it is a process of executing multiple threads simultaneously. Why we want this means to achieve multitasking. That is, if you want to use the CPU efficiently. Advantages, it will consume less memory and fast and efficient performance will be there. What is thread scheduler? In multithreading concept, there will be multiple threads executing at a time. So in this situation, which thread should be selected and processed, all these things will be decided by this thread scheduler. So what is this means? It is a part of JVM that decides which thread should run. The exact algorithm followed by this thread scheduler, we cannot predict that. So it will be varying from JVM to JVM. Since we cannot predict the algorithm followed by this thread scheduler, there is no guarantee that which thread will be selected next and which will be processed next, and also what is the order of that thread execution. We cannot predict anything. it is randomly it will be happening by this thread scheduler. What are the types of thread? There are two types of thread. First one, user thread and daemon thread. User thread means the thread which is created by the user or application, and these threads are high priority threads. Since it is a high priority one, JVM will wait for these threads to finish their task. Next, daemon thread. It is a thread which is created by JVM. Why we want this daemon thread means to perform some background task like garbage collection and housekeeping task. And these threads are less priority threads. Since it is a less priority one, JVM will not wait for these threads to finish their task. So generally whatever we are creating in Java means user thread only we will be creating, and this daemon threads will be created by JVM. How to create thread in Java? Here it refers to user thread since it is created by the user. How we can create means threads can be created through two ways. First one, by implementing runnable interface or by extending thread class. Let's see example programs for creating thread. First, by extending thread class. Here we have created one class that extends thread, and this class consists of a method called run, then main method. Inside this method we have created an instance of this class, then t1.start. This start method, it belongs to thread class. So since we have extended our class with thread, we can access this by using t1.start. So this will start the thread and it will internally call run method. Next, by implementing runnable interface. So this class also consists of run method and main method. So inside this main method we have created instance of class and one extra step to create thread, because we have just implemented runnable interface, and to start the thread we actually need start method. So this start method is available in thread class. So for that purpose only we are creating thread t1 equal to new thread of t2. So this t2 is the instance of class. So now we can access this start method. So this start method again it will internally call run method and it will execute that. We saw about two ways of creating thread, but when to use runnable interface and when to use thread class, this thing we need to know. Runnable interface is preferred when there is a need to extend another class other than thread class. If we are using thread class to create thread means, then at that time we cannot extend any other class, since multiple inheritance is not supported in Java. So in that case we can go for runnable interface. Also, only when run method of thread class is needed. This runnable interface has only run method inside that. So if you want to access only that method, then we can go for runnable interface. Thread class is preferred when there is no need to extend any other class other than thread class. Also, when other methods of thread class such as sleep, wait, etc. also needed. How can we create daemon threads? We saw about daemon threads. Just to revise, daemon threads are threads which are created by JVM, and these threads are used for performing background tasks. So how can we create this thread means, there is one method called setDaemon. If you are passing this to this method as true means, then it will be creating the daemon thread. So it is used to mark the current thread as daemon thread or user thread based on true or false values. And there is another method called aceDaemon. It is used to check whether the current thread is daemon or not. What are the different states in lifecycle of a thread? First, new. When a thread is created newly, it will be in new state. Then it will go to ready or runnable state, then running state, at last dead state. In between there is some more states called waiting or blocked. So when this thread will be in new state means, when we want to create a thread by using thread t equal to new thread. Then when it will go to ready or runnable state means, if you are calling t.start, that is start method, if you are calling, it will go to ready or runnable. Then from ready or runnable to running state, when it will go means, the start method internally it will call run method, and thread scheduler has to select that thread. That time only this thread will be going to running state. Then from running to dead. When it will go means when the run method exits, or when we want to forcefully make the thread stop by using t.stop method. Then from there may be chance like from running state to waiting or blocked state it can go. When means t.wait, t.sleep, t.join. There are some other situations also, but this is like easy to understand. So from running to waiting or blocked, when it will go means these are some of the example methods. Then once this waiting is over, it can go to again ready or runnable state. So waiting timer completes, or t.notify or t.notify all these methods when we are calling, at that time this thread will go to ready or runnable state from waiting state. Then from ready or runnable it will be going to running and then dead. So these are the different states in life cycle of thread. Explain start and run method in thread class. So start method, it is used to begin execution of the thread, that is it is used to start a new thread. This method internally calls run method, and if we are trying to call the start method 2 times means then at that time illegal thread state exception will be thrown. Then run method, this method is called by using start method. So while creating thread, when we are calling like t.start, then that time internally start will call run method. And if you are trying to call this run method directly means instead of using t.start, if you are trying to use t.run, then at that time it will act as a normal method and executes whatever inside the code block. It can be called twice because it will act like a normal method only. Can we call run method of a thread class directly? To answer this question, yes, we can call run method of a thread class, but it will behave like a normal method only. If you want to access it like a thread means, then we need to start it by using thread.start method. What is context switching in multithreading? Context switching is referred to as switching of CPU from one thread or process to another one. That is, if you are having many threads executing simultaneously, then switching between those threads, that process is called context switching. It allows multiple processes to share the same CPU. In context switching, the state of thread or process is stored so that the execution of thread can be resumed later if required. Explain about sleep, yield and join methods in thread. Sleep. This method is used to pause the execution of current thread for a specific amount of time. Example, thread.sleep of 1000. So here 1000 is a millisecond. So this thread will get paused for 1 second. Yield. This method is used to pass the execution of current thread and give chance to another waiting thread. This method will be helpful if there is a long processing thread, like some thread, example if you are having like one thread, it is taking more than 5 hours to complete a task, then and there is another thread which is like it will take only 5 minutes to complete that job. So if you are making this first thread to run, then the second thread has to wait for 5 hours just to complete this 5 minutes task. So in that case we can use this thread.yield method, so that the second thread it will get chance to execute, and once it is completed, then this long running thread will be executing. Next, join method. It pauses execution of current thread until the thread it joins with completes its task. Example, if thread T1 wants to wait for thread T2, then it should call like T2.join. So once this T2 is completed, then only T1 will be executing. What is thread priority? Priority in general, it means like giving some extra care or importance to a particular thing. So here thread priority means giving some extra importance to a particular thread. Every thread has a priority. Usually higher priority thread gets more precedence in execution, but it always depends on the thread scheduler implementation, because thread scheduler we cannot guarantee like what order of execution of this thread will be happening, because it doesn't have like exact algorithm to be followed by thread scheduler. So though we are setting this thread priority, we cannot guarantee that. Thread priority value varies from 1 to 10. So here 1 means lowest priority thread, 10 means highest priority thread, and 5 is a normal priority thread. That is, it is default. If you are not setting any priorities, then that means this thread has a 5 as a priority. And if you are not giving value between 1 to 10, then it will throw illegal argument exception. And what are the methods inside this thread priority means? To get the priority of thread, we can use get priority, and to set priority, we can use set priority of that whatever number we want to set, we can do that here. How does thread communicate with each other? It is like an indirect question. So here we want to answer like wait, notify and notifyAll. By using these 3 methods, threads will communicate with each other. First, wait. This method, it will cause the current thread to release the lock immediately and goes to waiting state. So basically this wait method, it will make the thread to go to waiting state. Then notify. So this method is used to notify only one thread out of multiple waiting threads. There may be many waiting threads. So in that case, if you are calling this notify, only one thread, it will get notified and it will be executed. But which thread will get notified, we cannot predict. Then notify all. Here it is used to notify all the waiting threads, but execution of threads will be preferred only one by one only. So difference between notify and notifyAll. Notify, it is used to notify only one thread. If there are many threads also, only one thread will get notified. And notifyAll, it will notify all the waiting threads. Why wait, notify and notifyAll are in object class, not in thread class? It is important interview question. Wait, notify and notifyAll is used for communication between 2 threads, that is inter-thread communication. In order to make them available for every object, it should be there in object class. If you are making these methods in the thread class means, then each thread would have to know the status of every other thread. But logically it is not possible. There is no way to know by one thread like another thread is waiting for any resource to access. It is possible only for objects. That's why it is there in object class. Difference between wait and sleep methods. There can be little confusing since both these wait and sleep methods are used to pass the execution of current thread. But there are some differences. Let's see about it. Wait method, it belongs to object class. Sleep, it belongs to thread class. Wait, it releases lock when it receives notify and notifyAll methods call from object. It will not release sleep method, it will not release the lock on object until time expires. So we'll be passing the time inside sleep method, right? So till that time expires, it will not release lock. Wait, this method is recommended for updating or adding operation. Sleep is recommended when a thread has to wait for particular time period. And wait has 3 overloaded methods. Wait of long timeout, then wait of long timeout comma in nanoseconds. Sleep has 2 overloaded methods. Sleep of long millis and sleep of long millis comma in nanos. What is deadlock and how to detect and avoid it? Deadlock, it is a situation in which every thread is waiting for another thread forever. That is, it is like infinite waiting. In this situation, neither of the thread executes nor it gets chance to be executed. So each thread will be waiting for another thread like infinite time. It is happening because of a bug in our code only. So we should be very careful while using these logs. How to detect this means, we can detect deadlock condition by running the code on command and collecting the thread dump. How to avoid this means, avoid nested lock, avoid unnecessary locks, and by using thread joins efficiently. Next, let's see one important interview question. What is synchronization? If there are multiple threads and all those threads wants to access the same object means there will be data inconsistency problem. So to avoid that, we can make that method like it can be accessible by only one thread at a time. So that is called synchronization. It is just like we are making that method or block as synchronized. Synchronized is a keyword. So if you are making like that, then at a time only one thread is allowed to execute that method or block on that object. Internally, synchronization concept is implemented by using lock. Every object has unique lock and it is activated by synchronization. To understand it better, let's see one example. Online bus ticket booking. So here, view seats, that is read operation. If you want to just view whatever seats available, then at that time it is like non-synchronized. So we don't want to make that method as a synchronized. Then book or cancel tickets. So in this case there could be like a create, delete or update operations happening. So that time we should make that method as a synchronized. Then only it won't affect the it won't be affected by other threads.